Okay. We're here with the coach, Brandy Miles.
Hello, hello.
From from where? Where are you from?
Biloxi, Mississippi, all
Uh,
the way at the bottom.
Oh, and not moving to the top anytime soon.
No,
Hopefully,
never.
there won't be
No,
a
no.
shift. Well,
I
thank
like
you
to
for
keep.
being here. Thank
Thanks
you for
for having
being here with me today and offering to do this video about the 3-day private retreats. And what I
Thank you
just
for
want to
having me.
say, yeah, I just want to say in advance that usually there's a tremendous amount of confidentiality with these private retreats, and that's part of why they work so well. But I just also want to share that Brandy's done a tremendous amount of work on herself, and she's also found by sharing a lot of her personal stories and insights that it facilitates a lot of growth with her coaching clients. So I really commend you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. And thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
All
know, I always
right.
love, I always love doing these things with you.
Well, I love doing these things with you. Should we just have a private love fest?
Yeah, let's go.
So why do you think this 3-day works so well for you?
For me, I feel like it worked really well. First of all, when I came in, there was trust built with me and you at the beginning, and we built up the trust us talking back and forth. But at the beginning, you did this piece where it was a song, it was called, See Me. And that built a lot of trust with you and me. So I feel like that was one piece of it was, and it gave me the ability to like open up and really dig deep. And then there was transformation. Like I never imagined that I could have that much transformation in 3 days in a hotel room.
In a hotel room.
Yeah, I mean, really, you know what I'm saying? Because you have these people that do these 3-day retreats and they have it all, they spend all this money on it and make it all, and have all these um bells and whistles and stuff going off and everything, and like you took me in there in a hotel room for 3 days and transformed my mind, my soul, like it was amazing. And it showed me so much of what I could do here on the coast. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I kept on thinking that I had to do all this extraordinary stuff just to have transformation with somebody, and that's not the case. It's human to human.
Right. That's so true. That's a great perspective,
Thank you.
Brandy, that the human to human, and there's magic that can happen when there's a certain level of trust and safety and that confidentiality piece that they
Right.
know that they can speak their truth. And that takes a while to build up when you're doing one-on-one week after week or every 2 weeks or something like that. It can take a year before you get to that place where the person will really open up and say what's really going on deep in their heart.
And some people it is like that, and I work with so many humans that are like that, and but for me I've been doing so much work on myself already that when I entered that 3-day retreat I was ready for it.
You were ready. That,
I was
yes.
ready to receive whatever you was putting down. Like I was ready.
Whatever
Yeah.
whatever she's going to deliver.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is so each day is like 6 hours.
Yes.
So it
It was
is
intense.
hour after hour
And
after
then when you
hour.
left, you gave me tons of homework, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't really a homework girl, but I did it all for you. I was like, man, I'm being solid with Julie and doing this homework. And but it paid off, you know what I'm saying? Because I learned a lot from it. Mhm.
Yes. Well, and that's, it's a cumulative effect. That's you take in information and we try and break it up. Not try, we deliberately break it up with body exercises. Like if you remember the one called Everything is Breath, where we actually stood up and moved and did some various things. And so we do body things, we do
Yeah.
um,
We
yoga type things, we do meditations, we do something that I call mini meditation or a blending ever so often. So it helps integrate the information faster. It's more accelerated learning techniques and whatnot.
And that's what I was able to see when I look back on it is that it was a buildup. You know, the 3 days was a buildup to everything, and everything had its own meaning and purpose of why you did it.
Right.
Hmm. I was able to recognize that.
You, yeah, you recognize a lot. Yeah. So what happened that we did the See Me Sweet and Whole. Let's see. We yes, the See Me Sweet and Whole and then I See You Sweet and Whole
Yes.
one time and then we did it the second time. So what happened for you during the first time we did that?
Well, the first time we did it, that was on the first day, and I was very emotional because, it was hard for me to see myself, much less let somebody else see me, And so that was very emotional. I started crying. But then the second time when we did it, and that was the last day, I I felt strong. I felt confident. I felt, it was pretty much the same song, but I took it in differently because of the process that we had, all the processing and all the different techniques that we did in between it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
and it
you
was
were
great
de
to be able to be aware of that too, of like, that showed how much had happened in those 3 days just with that song.
well, you're not the only person who becomes very emotional during that, the first time of that. You know, we were putting our hands up together and looking directly in each other's eyes and singing, and you don't have to sing, but saying the words, see me,
Yeah. It
please
was
look
almost
deep
kind of like
into my eyes.
and it was almost at first, it was almost like, no, I don't want you to see me.
Right.
You know
Well,
what I'm saying? No, don't see me, you know?
right,
And so but then the second time it was like, yeah, see me. I'm,
right,
I'm here now. I'm
right.
here now.
And I'm nice and shiny, and
Right,
yes,
right.
and I am sweet and whole. I
Yeah.
am sweet.
And I see me too. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like it was a whole full circle.
right.
I finally,
Yeah,
I
it's a
see.
very powerful process
Hmm.
that I only use in what I would call agreed upon spaces because it does elicit emotions and fear, like fear
Yeah.
of
It was
being
very
seen.
powerful. And and for some of the techniques, but I think, I don't know if this is what you was doing, but each day you was mapping out what you was going to do the next day based on your experience with me that first day. So
Exactly.
okay, with everybody that you do these retreats with, you're doing some different techniques with them too. But I think it's very powerful, that first one, because that was really an eye opener, showing the difference in myself from the beginning and the end. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, that's very cool. And, I just have to hand it to you too, because like you said, you showed up ready.
Mhm.
And I have had people wanting or thinking they want to come and do a 3 day with me, but things don't come together. They don't come together, or they want a mate. They want their wife to come, and
Mhm.
yeah,
It's not the same.
yeah,
This is
it,
when you
and
do
it
this.
doesn't work. It doesn't work.
When you do this 3 day retreat, you need to do it alone. And also, even the isolation in the room after you left and me not going anywhere, like that was needed as well. Like when you do the 3 day retreat, it needs, I would recommend that it be done like that. That they're not out and about and going and exploring like the way you did it and had it intense, and then have me doing like intense homework at
Right.
nighttime. Like,
You don't
no,
have
I mean,
time to go out and party.
exactly, you don't, but it's very intense, and it keeps your mind going in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you did this as a group and everybody went out to eat that night and was able to socialize and stuff, then it would take your mind off of the process that's happening.
Hmm.
Like, I
Hmm.
really enjoyed that I was able to stay in it the whole 3 days and stay in that process because I stayed in that motel room and faced myself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But face the beauty of
Mhm.
yourself,
Yeah,
the
yeah, no, no.
beauty of
Yeah, it wasn't
yourself.
like bad stuff or nothing like that, but really dig deep and be like, what do I really want? How do I really want to be seen? Those things, breaking down like, how do I really see myself? Like really breaking some of those things down was a big eye opener for me.
Wow. I
Mhm.
love it. I love doing that with you too. All right, let's see. So, one of the biggest things that we did together is a process called breaking free,
Mhm.
overcoming limiting beliefs and corrosive negativity. And you want to tee that up and talk about it?
You talking about the worksheet that we did? Or okay, yes. So the this one was very impactful for me. This was, but you knew exactly when to come in with it.
Yes.
That's one of your superpowers, I will say, like because the word, I was going through a lot of shame, but I didn't know where the shame was coming from. That was the thing. Like I didn't understand where the shame was, but I knew I had felt shame. And through my sobriety, I learned that it was shame. For a long time, I had these feelings and didn't even know what it was because I was covering up with alcohol or pills or whatever. So whenever I finally stopped drinking alcohol and really had to face my stuff, I felt this feeling of shame, but I could not pinpoint where it was coming from. So when you come in and started doing the work with me, we did this worksheet, and um you had me like put out a bunch of complaints, like a bunch of complaints that I was having and that was in my mind, and so I put them all out on the paper, and a few of them we did, but then I locked in on one of them. I was like, let's go ahead and do this one, and it was the my mother, and her. I was sexually abused by my military stepfather for the first 8 years of my life, and I
Only share what you feel comfortable with.
Okay. And when I was 15, I told my mother about me being sexually abused. And she was like, you must have liked the abuse. That's why, you let it continue happening and not tell anybody. Well, I couldn't understand why I didn't even like didn't tell her. Like I feel like it was blocked out of my mind for a while because I was like, why didn't I tell her? And like and so for when she said that, that was on my mind for a long time. And I've been through therapy with it with a couple of pieces and stuff, and it still didn't bring this up like it did with you. There was a piece. The thing with my mother is she wasn't very affectionate and wasn't very, didn't show a lot of affection and everything else, and I'm sure her mother didn't, and I didn't either with my children. I'm able to understand that now and what happened, the generation of it. But with that said, is that I only got the affection from my stepfather. The sexual abuse was the only kind of love and affection that I received. So when I made the complaint that my mother said that I must have liked the abuse, um, you looked at me and you said, "Is this true?" And at first it triggered me, and I was like, "True? What are you talking about, true?" and and then you asked me again. You was like, "Is this statement true?" And I had to, and my jaw hit the ground because at that very moment. I realized that I did enjoy it because it was the only affection that I ever received. So obviously I enjoyed it. And later on, later on in years, I found out that my mother knew that I was being sexually abused. Um, but whenever that happened, whenever I was able to recognize that that's where the shame was coming from, like it was like the shame had lifted off of my shoulders. Like a lot of my stress is on my shoulders and it's like a bar across my shoulders all the time. But whenever you had said that, like at first I was triggered and then you asked me again and I was like, "Oh my God, that is it." I did enjoy it. And the reason why I enjoyed it is because I never got any kind of affection from my mother or anything. So obviously, somebody that doesn't receive love and only that's the only way that they receive it, obviously they're going to enjoy it,
Hmm.
and be okay with it. So at that point in time, that's when the shame had lifted off of me. And like the next day, I don't remember if I told you, but I felt like a feather. Like I felt so light from the shame. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel the shame anymore after that. I know there's more work to be done. I
Hmm.
mean, you talked about this because there's more layers to
Hmm.
to unfold and stuff. But I can tell you that the shame is gone, and that's one thing that I can say happened at the retreat. There's a couple of things that happened at the retreat, but that was one main one that I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable and that's what was so mind-blowing is that this woman was able to do this in a hotel room in 3 days with nothing but her laptop and a speaker, like it was amazing.
But you notice too is it was a stepping stone
And
of
that's what I was telling you. Like every day you was stepping me towards that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like because we had spoke about it before or the first day or something like that, but it was a stepping, like it was a process building up to it. And you knew exactly when to bring it in because something like that, you have to know when to bring it in.
right, or somebody will kill you
Yeah, yeah, or it'll piss somebody off, some just like because at first it
because it
triggered me and
triggers. Yes,
I was like, hold up, what are you trying to say? And then you asked me again, and I was like, oh my gosh. You know what I'm saying? But for
right.
other people that are not ready for that, then but you are pretty good about knowing when, because there was a
Right.
few times you brought some things in and you knew exactly when to do it.
Thank you. Well,
Yep.
good. All right. And then let's talk about the process we did called flip the switch, the visualization, where
Okay.
you decided you wanted to shift
Mhm.
from
I wanted to shift my mindset from surviving because not only am I a life coach, I'm a peer support specialist, and um, I'm a lot in the trauma world and in the peer support world, and for me, and just out of my life, that you can tell that they're still in the survival mindset and the way they speak, the way you present yourself, you can tell that we're still in that survival mindset. And I told you that I was tired of being in it and I wanted to be in the thriving mindset. I wanted to start having my verbiage sound like it's thriving. I was just tired of surviving. And so you did this flip the switch where you took me into my imagination and you took me down this elevator and it was going into me or whatever. It was going down into me. And when the elevator opened, it was all the switchboards and stuff of me, all my functions and all this stuff. And you were kind of guiding me through it, but my imagination was taking me where it wanted to go because I was down there and I started like, exploring a little bit because there was a couple of curves and stuff and those switches everywhere in my mind. Well, I come around the curve and there I was 5 years old. And then there I was, no, there was my 5 year old and my 14-year-old self. And then there was my confident self in there too. Like all of them was in there and stuff. And I went down there and I was like, I was so excited to see them because I'd been through therapy before. I went through hypnotherapy before, and I've always seen my 5 year old self and my 14-year-old self. Those were the two, I guess, main people, main um events in my life that happened and stuff. And so when I seen them down there, I was sitting there talking to them and stuff, and you told me that I was gonna flip the switch and you and flip the switch from survival to thriving. And so all of us was down there and we all went over there and I was like, hey, y'all want to flip the switch together? We're all going to do it together, you know? And so we all like flipped the switch together. And I remember telling them, well, it's time to go back up, you know? And so and this is the part that I just took into myself and my imagination, I told my confident self, I was like, listen, you're going to have to go back up there. I'm going to stay down here with them now. And I'm telling you, when it did that, it was so amazing because it flipped the switch. Like I was like, my confident self was like, okay, I'm fixing to go up here now. And I'm like, okay, bye. And me and the 14-year-old me and the 5-year-old me just sat there and was like, I'm done. I don't need to survive anymore. You go up there and go. And it was I mean, it was cool to have that experience, you know? The mind is a beautiful thing. It is a
The
beautiful.
mind is a beautiful thing. It can be a beautiful thing. It can produce anxiety or it can produce joy. And
Right.
when you find that part of yourself that flips the switches and decides, what we're going to do,
Right.
decides that's that key thing, decides what we're going to do. We're going to be happy or we're going to criticize and condemn. We're going
Mhm.
to be happy and enjoy, or yes. So,
But in my heart and soul, I just knew that I had to let my confident self come up. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm going to stay down here and I'll take care of them. And you go up there and do your thing now. I'm like,
well, and that's so cool. And I'll just add that was your imagination because there's nothing in that process that calls for a 5-year-old and 14-year-old, but you had done that parts therapy work in the
yeah.
past. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, and that's the cool thing about these visualizations. They're a guide, they're not a control. They're a
Hmm.
guide. And
Yeah.
also it's
And we're
about
the ending
choice.
people of our imagination. We let our imagination run where it wants to. And that's the beautiful thing of imagination. But the beautiful thing too is that I had been building up to this as well because at
Hmm.
Coachville, we do a lot of imagination. Like,
Hmm.
I'd been doing a lot of therapy and stuff. So I'd been building up to this, but you could do it, in a period of time. You can do it. I think anybody could have some breakthroughs in 3 days with you. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I was ready and primed for like multiple
You were,
breakthroughs.
yeah, you
You know what
were,
I'm saying?
you,
Like,
you were ready.
yeah,
A
I was ready for
volcano ready
multiple.
to erupt
Yeah, I was ready for
in the
multiple
most
breakthroughs.
positive way. That is
Yeah.
so cool.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much, Brandy, for joining me on this. I loved every aspect of it. I always love talking to you. You have such a what? Joyful, beautiful, growth-oriented, expansive spirit. You're always up for the next step. You're always up for the next step. Yeah.
I am, but that's because I have amazing people like y'all surrounding me, you know. I couldn't,
Yeah.
you can't do this alone. I promise
Well,
you, you can't do it
we
alone.
are very lucky to have people around us, aren't we?
Mhm. Yes, we are. Thank you for being a part of my life and thank you for giving me this retreat. And, thank you for being the human that you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye for now.
Peace out.
Peace out.